Keep it locked. We'll be right back for Truth.
I'm really loving that jazz music. Welcome and good night to everyone out there. Um, Tonight is a very special night in some ways to many of us and to some of us actually. But I just want to say a few things before we get the show started, and of course, usually the man thoughts. So first and foremost, let me just say thank you and big up my daughter, my little daughter, for providing me with the nice jewelry. She's been trying to get me to put this on for the last 3 weeks, and she's been hounding me to wear this jewelry when you go on the show. So let me know if you guys are feeling this. Let me know, if it's a little bit too fancy. Because I say, look, girl, I ain't no fancy man. She's like, yeah, it looks good on you. So I say, okay, I'll do it for you, baby. And so I put it on, and let me know if you guys are feeling this. If you're not feeling it, let me know. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? Still got my manhood, and it's all good in the hood, right? So so again, yes, welcome back to the show, and we have a very special guest on the show tonight, and I don't know by now his name, and I'm gonna introduce him to you guys pretty soon. But first and foremost, it's been a very interesting week, and it's been topsy turvy, and it's been a lot of tea drinking. Some people who drank tea started drinking a little bit more stronger tea, and you know how it go. It's been a very interesting week. So here we go. So firstly, let me say this. Monday was International Women's Day, and I want to give a big shout out to a very special woman who always seemed to find ways to get things done. One day, when her book is finished, you guys can get to buy it and read some of the interesting happenings that surround her. Nadia is not an ordinary woman. She's very extraordinary in a very special way. To be continued. Let me just tell you that. And there's a lot in that. So stay tuned. That's a little snippet, as she would say. All right. So again, this week has been a very interesting week. Very interesting week in the world. Uh, now, this is what happened, right? Demand thoughts, March 10, 2021. I forgot to say that. Now, so far, and by all means, this week is going to keep the world talking for a little bit. So here we go. Interesting is what keeps everyone talking, and interesting could change the conversation of an entire generation of younger people. I'm going to tell you a bit about my childhood days in the old neighborhood and briefly share a story about two brothers from the same household. You see, there were two brothers in the hood, and one was named Charles, and the other was named Archie. Charles was light skinned and spoke the Queen's English. And when I say the Queen's English, I mean with the accent as well. Charles was almost genius like with his approach to electronics and his understanding of how to fix electronics. Charles was the guy everyone respected, especially when it came down to advice on an old broken radio or a satellite dish that needed help. Boy, he would go down on that device, making it moan again and having it acting almost brand new. Charles was quite outstanding, and he had a title that was the Whiz Kid. Then there was Archie. His name was simply Archie, or Archie Becknam up. Archie was of darker complexion and rode a bicycle everywhere he went. He was a carpenter by trade, and everyone loved his ability to listen and smile when there was a conversation. Archie was approachable by everyone, but He was just Archie without a title, and nobody gave him the same respect like Charles received. Archie became a carpenter, and he would go on to be a part of many teams that helped build homes and give people somewhere to live. Somehow, Archie still didn't have a title like his mom dreamt he would have. Now, I'm sure these two good men are loved and adored by their respected families and have grown into their roles as human beings often do. Look, there is no moral to this story. Simply, Archie backed them up. That's it. And now we're going to move on, introduce my next guest to the show tonight. And Sean Hall. If many of you out there, well, I I'm gonna assume that all of you or some of you, the whole entire world. There's a lot of people that don't know, but there's a big segment and a big population out there that knows who this guy is and who his father is. So let me introduce him to you. His name is Sean Hall, and if many of you out there who don't know who Sean Hall is the son of the great cricketer, Sir Wesley Hall. Let that sink in for a second. Uh, the great Sir Wesley Hall. This man is so famous and popular all over the world. Uh, he has a school named after him. He got a statue in Barbados. Uh, I'll let Sean talk about it when he finally comes on, but the list goes on and on and on and on, and we can get into that right after. But let me introduce Sean to you because Sean is building his own legacy here and is growing pretty rapidly. So Sean Hall is a former jockey and trainer who got his exercise license at age 12. Wow. And won his first start at age 14. Sean has ridden over 500 races in his career and graduated through the horse racing industry, both in Barbados and in Canada, becoming the youngest and first Black Barbadian trainer to win the prestigious Gold Cup race in Barbados. Wow. Sean remains passionate about the horse racing industry and currently continues to train and perform rehabilitation on horses. Sean is Sean is in the process of writing his biography and working on a documentary about Barbadian horsemen and their journey to Canada and the USA. He is also working with the government to establish training opportunities for young Barbadian horsemen. So, welcome. Sean, welcome to the show.
How you doing? Good night to everybody.
Listen, man, it's a pleasure to really have you on the show tonight. And when I marked you down on the calendar, I was really looking forward to this, man. So I want to say welcome again to the show. You're a very interesting guy. Your father is a outstanding person. Um, there's a lot more we can say about him, but this show is about you. And if you want to talk about your father, by all means, go ahead and do your thing. I don't want to talk too much about your father. If you want to do it, that's your honor. You can do it, man. That's the man who brought you in.
Well, of course. I mean, I can't. I won't come on a show like this and just speak all about me because of lots of things that he did for me in my life has carried me all over the world and that kind of stuff. And he's living the life now where he's getting the rewards of his hard work and I would say people's skill because I think he did a lot of things for people, getting involved in politics and that kind of stuff. And that's why we see, he has a statue and he has a lot of names before and after his name. His name is on buildings, everything like that.
Wow, wow. Yeah, that's I can't stop smiling. I can't stop. Like I can't. If I feel so happy to be here talking to you, the son of Wesley Hall, man. This is a guy who is so popular all over the world. I mean, the cricket industry, cricket world knows who I'm talking about. For those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, do some research and you'll be surprised. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very famous guy. Like, he's up there with the greats. I mean, he is one of the greats. And what does that mean to you?
Well, I tell the truth. Um, it took me traveling outside of Barbados to really appreciate what my father was or have done. Um, Going to places like India, you know, when I got there and you see people knocking at doors at all hours of the night looking for autograph, and I was like, autograph, you know. And one of the best things that happened I saw was when we were in Melbourne. We were at Melbourne Cricket Ground, and my father,
That's in
he was
Australia.
in Australia. Yeah, he was the manager.
Okay.
But I don't want to get ahead of myself too much. I traveled with the team between 83 and 85. I was riding at the time. So I did some riding in India and Australia. So that's why I was there. But I
I
took in
didn't
some
know about
cricket.
that.
Yeah, I rode in Calcutta and Madras, and then I rode in Perth and Brisbane.
Why don't you continue? Go ahead.
Yeah. So what happened was that my father walked onto the pitch to inspect the pitch, you know, I mean, the cricket pitch before the test match. And I think it was about 80,000 because it was like a Boxing Day's test. And all the people stood up and start singing, "He's a jolly good fellow." And it
Wow.
gave me goosepimples. Like I said, and you know, it still had me like, they're saying that for him, you know what I mean? So, you know, things like that make you realize that you're king outside of your own land, because I don't think that would happen in Barbados. No.
Wow, wow. But you know, I mean, we give Barbados a lot of flack, but I mean, Barbados still recognizes your father.
Yeah, listen,
And
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But like, you know, traveling even to Guyana last year with him, you know what I mean? And because my father, he's a little, you know, he's not as mobile as he used to be when in his heyday. Put it that way.
he's
And
83 right now, right? He's 83 or 84 years old.
83. But he's
That's
an old war horse, you know what I mean? The injuries have taken toll on the body. So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
but going to Guyana and seeing him, how the people in Guyana give him so much love, even at this time of his life, you know what I mean? It was really great to see that somebody, you know, you could go to the islands and people came out in droves to see him. He made a speech. It was something that I can't remember what's his name right now, but we went down to this speech he had to make, and there were about 400 people. They waited all to get autographs and everything afterwards. It was amazing. So he still has that pull at his age. Still, people still want to see him and talk to him and that kind of stuff.
Wow, wow. I mean, I after connecting with you, and I want to say thank you for actually when I reached out to you, you reached back, and I'm very grateful for that. There's not many people who, you know, sometimes we as people tend to shy away from each other, right? But I want to say thank you.
No problem.
So before we move directly into you, I just want to say about your father. You know, I did some research on him, and I started looking back at videos, and I just saw like, when he ran up to bowl at a cricket match. Like I just saw those batsmen would just like literally get ready to run away from run away from the stumps, and he was feared, man.
Yeah, he was.
Feared, you know, big, strong man.
But that's the problem with me, though. When I went to places like India and Australia, especially, I remember in India, some guys looked at me and said, "You said Wesley Hall is your father? So what happened to you? your father's a big strong man and you're a jockey, boy." And Australia now is, "Yeah, mate, Wesley Hall can't be your father. You know, he's too small. You know." So you get those things where people, I guess they weren't too happy with my size.
Well, you know, that's the right. You can't have it all, and
No.
that's just how it goes sometimes. You know,
Mm-mm.
that's just how it goes. So, first time I heard about Sean, still in Barbados, and I was going to school at Combermere, a school that your father went to.
I went there
Some
too.
people are going to be on this. Oh, you went to Combermere too?
Of
No,
course I
let me
did.
tell you something, brother.
Up and on.
Because you know what? There's a lot of people who's going to be saying, the man always putting all Combermere people on the show, and I keep saying it's just coincidence. It's just
Yeah.
I refuse to look up your school because I did not want to I did not want to find out that you went to Combermere. But say just say, there's some people from Harrison College who will be she know what she'd be doing. Let me just put it that way. So the first time I heard about you, I was a young boy, and I go into the garrison, and I heard about you, and I think Ricky Griffith was
That's right.
was called at that same time. And
Yeah. We're like twins.
I don't know if it was. So I don't know if it was like the same thing for you, but for me, it was like this: Sean Hall, Ricky Griffith, Sean Hall, Ricky Griffith, right? And that's how I first found out about Sean Hall. At that time, I didn't realize you were Wesley Hall's son, and it's only afterwards I did some research. When I came to Canada, I found out, and it was a pleasant surprise because I was like a big, strong man like Wesley Hall. What made you think that you could jockey same as everybody else, right?
My mother has good, strong genes. She conquered him. No, all of us are average size. My brother, he's my height. My sister, she's a little shorter than me. But my brother that died, who was not from my mother, he was big like my father, though. He was a 6'2", big, strong guy, John. But he died in 2007. So yeah, he lived in Canada also. Actually, he was from Pickering.
I'm very sorry to hear that. My condolences. I know it's been a while, but still. And
thank
you. You started out riding in Barbados. Was that
yes,
what it is?
Yes, I started. I had a passion for horses from, going back very, very far. And I keep telling people, I can remember going back as far as when I was in England. I was born in England, watching black and white TV with horse races with my grandmother at the time. And from then, I remember going when we were living in Trinidad. My father's a big race fan too. He loved horses. So always used to go to races with him in Trinidad. And from there, we were in Barbados. And back in those days in Trinidad, especially, fellas like Venice Richards and Byron Clark and Winston Walter and those guys.
Richards, wow.
Yeah. I remember they used to come to our house often and that kind of stuff. And, it was just something I never stopped loving from the time I was a kid. The funny thing I was tell you is that when we grew up in a place called the Gardens in Maxwell there, and one of the first people I met in the Gardens was Sonia Perkins. So when Sonia Perkins,
he was a good jockey too.
Yeah, and the thing about Sonia, she was a little older than us, so somebody I always used to look up to. But when she started riding in '79, it was somebody that I actually could say I was had a closeness with. She was the first person, and from there, I said if Sonia did it, I could do it too. And soon afterwards, I started riding in '81. But even before then, myself and Ricky Griffith became very close because going to races, his dad, back in those days, he used to ride horses like Wixo and those type of horses, and was, when he went races, it was very exciting. The whole of Bretton Hill used to come down, and he was the king of Bretton Hill at the time, Godfrey. And myself and Ricky,
big horse racing area, Bretton Hill.
Yeah, up to now, because all the guys, all those youngsters that are doing well come from up there. Rico Walcott, Ricky Walcott, Samuels, Chris Griffith, of course, Ricky. Who else? Tom Trockman is from there. So there's a lot of guys, man. And back in the day, I think it was C.A. Jones and those type of fellas. So it's a place that where they seem to breed jockeys up there, man. I don't know how they do it, but they do well, very, very well.
That's very good to hear. I was reading an article. I think you were being interviewed. I think, and somebody had asked, like, what is it that about Barbados that so much horsemen and good jockeys come out, and what kind of program is happening down there? And, it seems like things are going pretty well.
I'm losing your voice a bit.
Expand on that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Like,
maybe I'm speaking down a little bit too low.
Yeah, I hear you very good now. So just hit me again what you said just now, please.
Okay, well, I was saying that I was reading an article, and I believe you were being interviewed, and they were asking what is it about Barbados that so much good horsemen and jockeys come out, like the type of program that is happening down there. It was a pleasant surprise to see that it was on the market, and full attention. So you can maybe expand on that a little bit more.
But you know what? We went to Canada. Well, let me start from the beginning, because guys like Cedric Lewis, he left Barbados in '83. Before him, Godfrey Griffith, Winston Walton, those guys were gone to the States also. But I think they went to the States in a rough time in the '70s. 70s was still for black people, it wasn't too nice. But when our generation came to North America, I would say that 1983 to '85, I was in India and Australia. And when I came back, Ricky Griffith won the Gold Cup in 1984 with Think His Image. I think after he won that race, that was the push he needed, to go to the next level. I've been away already, and Ricky went to the States, and I think in '87 himself and Patrick, your husband's brother, Anthony, they went to Canada, and that's where the Canadian the birth of the Canadian success for Barbadians started with those two guys, because they did such a good job. People there were asking questions if there are other Barbadians like them who were willing to come to Canada, and a program was set up in '89. In the meantime, before that, I went to Ricky's wedding. Ricky got married in November of '88, so I was lucky to go to Canada in November. When I was up there, Ricky asked me if I like it, I could come back, which I did. I went back home and sold everything, and by the end of December, I was back in Canada, preparing for a cold.
You loved it that much?
Well, I liked it, but I think it was wise for me to acclimatize. I don't think it was good to just walk right back into a cold. I was smart enough to do that, and came back up, spent the winter. We started work on the 1st of February, and from there, that's where things really started for the Barbadian workers. I mean, everybody did well. Everybody wanted us, and the unfortunate thing is that even Chris Griffith, he started after Ricky, but Chris, he was the first Barbadian jockey to win a stake race in 1990, even before Ricky, who was doing well, maybe from '87. But I don't know. For myself, my observation, I think our passion for the business is very strong. We have not changed any. Yeah, our passion. I think our passion. And I've observed also that we have not changed our style of teaching our youngsters to ride for over 100 years. We all learned to ride in cart roads of Barbados. And then we graduate to the Garrison Savannah. And when you lead the Garrison Savannah, you're a very skilled rider because you have to be a skilled rider. If you are not skilled, if you can't handle a horse, you really and truly won't last long out there. And once you pass that stage of the Garrison, the world is an easy place to go. And we are proving that very strongly because we have had 14 champions in North America in the last, I would say, 20 years or so. Maybe even more than that, because Chris would be a champion a lot longer than that, Chris Griffith. So for Ireland to have 14 different men, I mean, 14 different, you just understand that, 14 different guys who have held some sort of championship at a racetrack is a big thing for Ireland. And I think we got to start bottling it and selling it. The faster, the better.
Yo, that's tremendous, man. That's a tremendous achievement for the island. You know, I watch the guys because I'm a big horse racing fan too. I watch it on TV. Sometimes I go to the track. I'm trying to just kind of sit back and watch it more than just go over and watch it. I mean, right now you can't go over
lockdown.
But,
yeah, you can't go.
Yes. But I love it. I love relationships with a few guys who I've met over the years. But you know, it's all good. I just want to tap back on what you said about the guys with the same riding style. Now, I noticed that about the jockeys. I noticed that about you guys. But there's one interesting rider right now, to me, who rides a little bit different. I'm not sure if he's from Britain Hill. He may be from maybe somewhere else. But a man called Juwan Crawford, and he rides a little bit different.
Crawford, you know, he's a very busy and aggressive rider. He won the championship, at FuhTrute this year.
Yes,
he's a very hard worker. You know what I mean? He's come the long road to Woodbine. You know, he was out west, and you know, he got some problems out there. But he's one thing about anytime you work hard, people love you up there. You know what I mean? And that guy is just a working machine, man. He just got and he deserves all the success he's getting now. I'm very happy for him. Very happy.
I've heard this before. I want to say it. Yes. Big up Juwan. One Crawford.
One Crawford. Yeah, man. That guy.
There's only one Crawford. Let's get back into you, though. Let's get back into you, Sean, because I don't want to stray away from your greatness. And let's talk about some of your achievements. I like to talk stuff that you've been through.
Yeah, but I like to talk about my people, man, because this is really what I like to see. I mean, I've been to Canada. I guess I didn't even tell you why I'm back here, but I got hurt in 2009. I had a fusion of my spinal cord, my C4 and C5 vertebrae, and also I had a slap tear in my shoulder. And I was advised by my doctor at the time that I should find a different job. That the horse racing thing was a little too strenuous. And you know, back in those days, I did a lot of stuff myself. I was still riding, still doing a lot of work myself, and my body, I wasn't even 50 yet. And he told me that if I didn't do the surgery, that by the time I'm 50, I'll be in a wheelchair. So I didn't like the song of that, because you know, you spend your whole career as a jockey. Pardon?
Mr. Hall, there are people out there right now who are saying, wait a minute, this man is 50 or past 50? I mean, you look like your 20s or something.
Listen, I make it worse. I'm a grandfather twice.
Wow. Wow. But like, hey, look, you know, I usually don't hear men say this to other men, but you look good for your age, man. You look, you keep yourself in good shape. So
I work hard work. I always one who believe you gotta work hard no matter what. It don't even have to be for success. You know what I mean? It just has to be part of your DNA. And I guess that's how my father brought me up. Because even when I was writing, I could never take a day off. You know, it'd be like I couldn't stay in my house. He'd say, "Like, get out, go and work." You know what I mean? That type of stuff.
Wow.
So,
I was talking to a trainer some time back before we started doing the show and doing it on Facebook and YouTube, and
mhm.
and he was telling me that writing is a passion, and once you start writing, it's like you go into a different zone. How was that for you? And you're not doing that now by the advice of your doctor, but what's that like for you?
Yeah, but I was writing. I was still writing. I didn't take your advice. I started about writing since when I came back here. But but after I do a lot of rehab on horses, and I remember when I was in Canada speaking to one of my trainer friends up there, and she told me, she said, "Sean," I was telling her, I think I might come back out here and I might get on a few horses and I might keep on doing the rehab thing. She said, "Why would you want to get on horses when you're doing this? I can't afford for you to go and ride a horse and get hurt. Now, who's going to fix my horse?" So after hearing her saying that, I started to think, I might be getting a little too old for this thing. I think I mean, all good things come to end. Okay. All good things come to end.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
I sometimes, put this way, sometimes I watch my father and I could see, from bowling all those overs, how your body is rebel. You know what I mean? And I wasn't 50 yet, and I was in trouble. I mean, for 2 years, I don't think I sleep at night because I couldn't find a spot to sleep properly. And it kind of was like drive me crazy, man. You know what I mean? And even after the surgery, I found that I still was on taking too much medication still, and from the time I left Canada, because everything was in the cold. I got the surgery in December, so January, February, March, I was still feeling not good, and I decided to come home. And from the time I hit the warm Ricardo Griffith, that's my brother, man. Yeah, that's Ricky Griffith.
Ricky?
They go to war.
Ricky, man.
He's using his real name, okay? But he's Ricardo. I only know one Ricardo Griffith, all right? And that is Ricky Griffith. What's going on, Griff?
Let me tell you, Sean. Sean, let me tell you, man. Look, I always admire you and Ricky when I was a kid and I saw you guys riding at the Garrison. And for years I came over here and I never met Ricky. And then, lo and behold, I met Ricky at a barbecue that I was at. And
yes,
he was always down to earth. And every time I see him, if I go by the track, he would always hail me up. I don't even think he knew my name, but he would always know me as Sean brother. So big up Ricky, man. Very nice,
man.
Nice guy.
That's my brother, man. That's my brother. We started together. We grew up as brothers. That's the truth. I can't say it any differently. He was like Ricky. He's a little older than me, so he was that big brother that I had in the house. Because I was, and it was, we were riding together, so we did everything together. Everywhere we went together, and I must say that because of him, I came to Canada. And if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for him, but the Barbados racing will be, I don't know how Barbados racing will be right now. Because sometimes, I tell you the truth, people always frightened to make that step. People like to stay within their boundary. They don't want to go.
Don't step it.
When them guys kick down the doors of Canada, everybody jump on board, and nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying, if it wasn't for him having success, nobody would have dared cross the pond to come out here or go anywhere other than Trinidad, Jamaica, or Martinique. You know what I mean? The usual same old, same old. Because you know what? Because we are
Yes,
taught
man.
that we weren't good enough, and that's what it was back in those days. Because back in the days, they used to bring a lot of English jockeys, and no, that was the thing. Well, y'all are not good enough, so we bring these guys from England to ride. They don't do it anymore. We don't do it anymore since we are international riders ourselves. You don't see those guys coming here like they used to back in the day. You know what I mean? And
Well done, guys.
we
Well
stopped
done.
that. We
Well
stopped
done.
that. You know what I mean? Stopped it. Right in the tracks now. We are international riders now, and we got to keep on producing international riders, which I don't think is hard to do. We just need to guide our people in the right direction. Simple.
And I want to say, Sean, on that note, what was it like for you to win that prestigious Gold Cup as a trainer?
Funny enough, you asked me that because just I think it was yesterday. I was telling somebody I haven't had that feeling since. You know what I mean? I haven't had that feeling since because it was a personal thing for me. When I left to come to Canada in 80, let me see, yeah, when I went to Canada in 88. So I was still writing and getting heavy and grumpy and, you know what I mean, thinking about, I mean, by 88, I was still 21 years old. So when you're at 21 and looking to change careers, you know, it tells you you started very young, right? But what
Right.
happened was
Right.
I spoke to a couple owners at that time. I told them what my plans were. I was thinking about starting training, and a lot of them discouraged me and told me I better go back to school because black people don't make it in this country training horses. When
That must
when
have
it,
been very
it was a belly
tough to
searcher.
hear.
Let me put it in Barbados
Yes,
terms.
that's
It was a
very tough to
belly
hear.
searcher. I mean, I said, well, these two guys are, you know what I mean? It's amazing. I said, these two guys are the same color as me, and they're telling me that I should go back to school, right? So what I did, I I went to what did I do? I spoke to Ricky, and you know, I mean, he told me to come to Canada, that kind of stuff. And I decided I would go to Canada instead to do the my training stint there because I've been in the international market already, right? I've been to India, I've been to Australia, and traveled throughout the region. So I decided to go. I hooked up with Laurie Severe, and from there, that's when I decided I would start training horses. But getting back to the Gold Cup thing, I got the Gold Cup. Um, I was lucky to train for a guy called Robert Sangster. Now, Robert Sangster is one of the biggest horse owners, I guess, I can say the world because he won almost everything in the world. And funny enough, I managed to meet him not even through my father or anything like that. It was through Sir Clive Walker's brother, Keith Walker. I don't know if you know him, Keith Walker.
I don't know Keith Walcott, but you said Sir Clive Walcott.
It's
So
Sir Clive
I mean,
Walker.
you seem to surround yourself with a lot of
Yeah.
great people. Just smiling, just smiling. That's all.
Well, what he called me one night because he was a big race fan, and you know he used to call me a lot. You know, I used to give him tips and that kind of stuff when I was training in Barbados. And he said, Sean, he said I saw Robert Sangster today at cricket, and I told him that he better give you a horse to train because you can't expect to become the Barbados all the time. It's about time you put back something in the country and give young Hall a horse, you know. So he said, Sean, I give him your number. So I expect a call. And as he said,
Nice.
half hour later, I got this call from Robert Sangster, man, and the rest is history. You know, I mean, he didn't have to do it. You know what I mean? especially back in those days. Bill Marshall was training down here, and he used to get anything come out of England. But when I got Robert Sykes there, he almost had a heart attack back then because he wasn't too pleased.
Okay. Oh man, so I'm very happy that you managed to get that horse and you managed to win the Gold Cup, and you won it with was it Christopher Husbands?
No, Christopher Griffith. Christopher Griffith.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but the win, though, I must say the win was it because it's a big story to get into how it actually felt, and it was something that I was in, back then. To get a good horse at that, and he showed that he was troubled to train, and he was a little roguish, and he did his last work was extremely good, and I called Mr. Sanks so excited and said, this horse can't lose, you know what I mean? And he spoke to me, okay, and then all of a sudden he called me back 10 minutes later, asked me I'm Sean, I need you to come to number 1 Sandy Lane, please. I need to have a talk. I'm thinking, oh Lord, like I get fired already. I mean, I think it's somebody bad taught me already, you know what I mean? But he called me. I went down there, and he said, "I'm Sean. I'm speaking as I was speaking to you on the phone. I was a little worried. You sounded so excited, and I just wanted you to know that this horse. I must let you know his nickname in England is Rambo." He said, "Do you know why they call him Rambo?" I said, "No, sir. Why?" He said, "He beats every grade 1 horse I have at gallops, but he doesn't do it." He said he gallops in the morning, but he doesn't turn that form over on a race day. So I just want to let you know that he's a morning glory. He only looks good in the morning, and I don't want you. If this horse happened to get beat, I don't want you to blame yourself. I'm letting you know now this horse could do it. He said, this is the funny part. He said, Sean, I've lost millions on this horse betting on him. And he's hurt my heart a few times, so I don't want you to be on that list now. And so when he told me so, it's another moment where I felt gutted. I said, Lord, and I didn't know if to be happy or pleased, because he's now giving me a free meal to say, well, if you get beat, it isn't my fault, But I went to work soon after that. After I left him, we were drinking some wine and that kind of stuff, and he, and what he did, he treated me like a son, he pat me on my shoulder and tell me, so I just, don't worry about it, son. You just do your best, and whatever happened will happen. I said, thank you. When I went home, my father.
That everything will be okay.
Yes.
Kind of let you know everything will be okay, no matter what.
No matter what.
I want to hear more of the story.
But when I went, when I went home now, my father was in Australia, so I called my father and told him about, what just happened, and his friend, good friend, there's a guy called Greg Hasten. He was with my father at the time. And Greg, he was the guy that was responsible for me coming to Australia in 83 and 84 and 85 when I went there. And Greg told me they had these new blinkers. I just came out called it Pelham pacifiers. He'll get me 6 of them, and he's sending them by FedEx, and they should get there by midweek. And having those blinkers was the game changer in this horse winning, because we did everything that we had to do for him. It used to put like a shade over his eyes. It had it darkened so he couldn't see too much. He was a real coward, I think he got covered, he would just slow up and horses run past him and stuff. And we just managed to do the right things that day. Chris rode him well. I had him ready. Unfortunately, he came to me in such bad condition that I had to squeeze him a lot more than I would like to. He's such a big horse, You don't really like training big horses like that so hard on the Garrison. And, he had some slight injuries that he was never the same after that race, but he got the job done. But the thing about it is now what I do know with horses, that would be a minor problem for me to fix now. You know what I mean? But back in those days, I wasn't that advanced at what I am right now. So
you got a lot more experience now. I mean, you've been around the block a few times.
Yeah, man. When I went to Canada, it was like a matter of fact, wherever I went in the world, I tried to take in whatever they had to offer me, you know. And I did. The majority of that was in Canada. That's where I really learned the trade of being a good horseman. And I mean,
Sean, tell me about Pyrite Mountain. I know that was a special horse for you.
I bred him. I mean, I got into breeding. I got into breeding in Canada. I mean, I remember when I started breeding horses, Patrick's husband came to me one day and said, "Yo, Sean Hall, you take your Samson farms now, but breeding horses." I never forget. He told me so.
You, right?
You take your Samson farms. What you know about breeding horses? But listen, that's another story. I got some other stories, man. I claimed a horse called Gold Line. And I was so fortunate that when the horse was coming through to where you go and look at him and stuff, I was standing right next to, it would have been Mark Cassie's ex-wife and her father. Now, I just came right next to them, so I know her and stuff, but I don't think they recognize me because, she must have thought I was just another puncher or something like that, because they were so interested in the horse. And she was telling her dad, she said, Mark said that horse is worth the money alone as a broodmare, and if she doesn't make it, it's a safe, you won't lose out on her. So my ears was like, I said, what? She be a good broodmare.
You're a very keen listener. Listener.
So both of us went for this horse, and I won the shake. Unfortunately, she didn't last long as a race because she had some chips in her ankle. I managed to win a race with her. She came a third and then won a race. So I got back my money. But she did rape me as a broodmare. And Private Mountain. My first horse I bred was a horse called Wisdom is Gold, which turned out to be a stakes winner. And you don't really get that lucky in the beginning. You know what I mean? First horse, the breed, stakes winner, did very well. And every year since then, this horse used to just keep producing. And one of the last horses I had where it was a horse called Pirate Mountain. I mean, I just bred him, but to breed a horse like a guy like me, to breed a horse who was one of the favorites for the Queen's Plate. He even ran in the Canadian International.
Yes.
He didn't win, but to just get name alongside the rest of them guys as the breeder was enough for me.
Yes.
But then I had my dreads flowing. I was like, yeah. But he did well, even after he left Canada. He came second. Yeah, he came second in a race in Kentucky called the Kentucky Downs. It was 750,000. So this horse he turned into a pretty decent horse, man. I mean, I don't know, he just disappeared off the radar, and I don't even see him as a stallion anywhere. So I don't know if he got hurt or whatever. But
in horse racing, these things happen.
Yeah, you don't like it, it's something that we don't like. I mean, I'm in the business now fixing horses, so I do my best to make sure I get ahead of the injuries. My motto is the prevention is better than the cure. So I try to prevent horses from getting hurt. That's my job now. And I know, I see, I like it though. I mean, in life you got to evolve. You know what I mean? I started as a exercise writer.
You have to do different things too as well.
You got to do different things. And I mean, I don't think I should be a Barbados. I mean, I didn't expect to be here because I'm still young, and I think I had everything going for me in Canada. But sometimes that's the thing that happened. I got hurt, and you come back home, you see your parents getting old now and everything. So you think twice about running away and going back up when you don't know how much time is down here, you know. So you know, he
You
got.
know, someone once told me,
Mhm.
Sean, someone once told me that, you know, if you think 5 years ahead, it usually can give you a good idea about, you know, your future. So I
Mhm.
mean, like, you were able to see your father greatness, and how well he did, how well he traveled. You know, he traveled all over the world. You know, very popular. You were there to see the stages, and to know. So even for you, if your injury and going back and doing different things from exercise writer to writer to trainer, there's evolving moments in life. So
Mhm.
every stage has its purpose.
That's right. That's right. And you just try to stay. You don't get too crazy and do the wrong things. You know, what I mean, you just try to do the right things. And I think I have some value here, Barbados. If things do, no, as I told you, I have some projects working on, and I would really like to be helping youngsters to get out of Barbados, because it seems to me that we are a brand name in North America, and we have a bottleneck of guys just getting around the garrison there on mornings, and there, there's only so much that the garrison can allow at a time. You know what I mean? And we need to
That's right.
start putting projects and things in place to get our youth out of this country, since they can't. Let's just keep them around here just to be liming our blocks when they could be working overseas. And I'm hoping the talks I had with the government recently, that they will get things rolling, and we could start even doing a better job with helping our youth in this country. You know,
I
that
want to
would be
wish you the best
something I
on
would
that.
love.
I want to wish
Yeah,
you the best on that. I think
hopefully.
that's a great idea, and hopefully that program uh, gets bigger, and you're able to do what you're doing. And I hope you get the help from the people that you reach out to that will
Yeah,
also help you. And before
yeah.
you continue, I just want to say the reason why I'm saying it's a really great program. And if you ever, I'm not sure if you're a football fan, a soccer fan, but
Not really.
Brazil has the same kind of program,
Hmm.
right? But Brazil, great soccer players come out of
Hmm.
Brazil, and they continue to make it known. They
Hmm.
continue to let those great players just ease away from Brazil and
Yeah,
do some
yeah.
great things, and the program kind of gets bigger and
No.
bigger. So go
The
ahead.
talks, the talks we had with the minister and his team, I I would have met some of his team years ago, because I was speaking about this for years now. I must I must shout out Marsha Hines Lane. She was one of the first people who got me thinking about this kind of stuff. I mean, when I came out of Barbados and I met her, the first thing she told me is that, Sean Hall, see fellas that you always come back to this country and don't get back. And I said, I mean, I know beat this woman, and she was attacking me like that. I was like, what do you mean? And at that stage of my life, I wasn't really thinking about getting into horses or anything like that. So I wasn't, thinking about doing anything. And it was like, but I'm not even thinking about messing around horses again. And you tell me so. She said, but you know a lot. And I said, okay, I can talk to Jono Jones, because Jono was the only body here at the time that had the international experience that I wanted to draw from. And we sat down and we met for a few months. She's an educator, so she was kind of top heavy in education, that kind of stuff. Not that it's not a bad thing, but I think people like us, 'cause I started writing young. Jono started at 14 too, Patrick. All of us, we were that bright at school. So it's no sense trying to force food that you don't like down your mouth. Teach us what
Exactly.
we are good at. Teach us about spending our
That's right.
money. Teach us how to speak in front of camera. Teach us how to financial things. You know what I mean? Those are the things that fellas like us need. You know what I mean? Because we ain't good at school really. But we're good at what we do. So if you could just
Exactly.
keep it interested and teach us differently, you find that you could help people like us. So I mean, I can only talk from experience because I was never good at school. I would say pass through,
But you
come
know,
here, that's about it.
but you know, that's
But
the thing about. But you know, but I had Easy B on the show, right? Easy B was on the show some time back, and he's a common mirror guy too. But you
mhm.
know, one thing that he did say was the teachers always say, if you reach here, you ain't a fool. It's just that the creative mind is different. Not everybody
Mhm.
can sit in a classroom and concentrate on schoolwork. I mean,
Yes.
when I went to common mirror, I couldn't see properly. I mean, I
Okay.
for years I lived without glasses,
Mhm.
and I could not see properly. People didn't know that, you
Oh,
know,
wow.
but I made it
Yeah, but
true.
yeah, we all do. I mean, I mean, look at me here talking to you. No, I mean, when I was going to school, I didn't think I could do things like this because I wasn't much of a talker. And but you know, I think when you live the life I kind of live, it boils down to experience. And I've
That's
done so
right.
much stuff. And when you come back and see people doing so much wrong stuff, you know what I mean? I mean, Barbados is a culture where you know what I mean, they got the ways of doing thing and they you know might ignore what you do. But if I can help some youngsters by putting programs that I think that would make them their life a lot better, I I would go with that anytime, you know, anytime.
So right now is where do you call home? Barbados or
Yeah,
England or
no. I mean, no,
Canada?
no, I'm in Barbados. I'm here in Barbados right now. I'm here in Barbados.
Yes.
You know, things about listen, especially with our we've done so much good things. Even with the documentary I talked to you about, we're working with this documentary. I met a guy called Jason Harper and Amanda Reefer. There are two people I approached. I approached Amanda, and Amanda told me about Jason, and we're we're pushing forward. I mean, with this stuff, I think it's time we tell our stories. We have to tell our stories, especially
It's a great
the
idea.
ones that are
Great
so
idea.
no, it's very successful. I mean, we are a very small island, and for what our jockeys are doing in Canada and now spreading to North America, it is amazing. It's amazing. I mean, and even listen, I learned from very early going to Canada. I remember working with Laurie Silver. I got a job with Laurie Silver, and Laurie Silver, when it was introduced to him to get the job, the only thing he was worried about was my age. He said,
How old are you
Sean,
now?
I was 22. So I was applying for assistant trainer's job because Ricky got me a job with Ian Howard and Travis Swan. Okay. But they were a pretty big stable already. I got a job as an exercise writer, but they allowed me to stick around when horses are racing to observe what was going on and that kind of stuff, you know. And then another great friend of mine who done very well for us Barbadians, a Jamaican guy called Chris Martin. He really he helped us a lot. You know what I mean? I mean, this guy was so good to us. You know, we were youngsters, no going out there, so none of us had the money to buy a car and that. So his car was our car. All you said, get back for me to go to work at 5. I don't care if you could if you could drive to New York and come back. Get back here by 5. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. But he was really good to us. And Chris Chris got me the job with Laurie Severe. You know, what I mean, he told me his assistant trainer left and he needs somebody to ride. And you know, what I mean, he said, Sean, you know, speak to Laurie. Go and speak to him. And I spoke to Mr. Silver, and you know, he obviously he's from Jamaica. He was a champion in Jamaica, so he knew my father. My father knew him because the first thing my father asked me is if he still wear a cowboy hat. I said Yeah, he's still doing it.
Yeah, Lord,
And
my Lord, I remember you doing that.
yeah, man. And Laurie, we had a talk, we had a meeting, and we sat down, and he said, you know, Sean, I have a son who's your age, and all he's studying right now is partying and girls. I said, well, boss, to tell you the truth, I'm sorry to hear that, but if I wanted partying and girls, I would have stayed in Barbados because life is a party and there's plenty of girls down there, and I don't really. So when I came back with that, I could see he was shocked, and he laughed and he shook his head. He said, "Can you start tomorrow?"
On point.
I said, Mrs. Severus, I said, these guys were so good to me. I got to give them at least a week notice. I just can't pick up and leave like that. You know what I mean? And he said, all right, no problem. I'll see you in a week's time. And that's how I got the job with Laurie's Rivera. Unfortunately, I got food poison the next day, and I was out of work for the whole week.
Wow.
This is a good joke too. I was me and Ricky. We bought a sub from Mr. Sub, and Griff told me I ordered roast beef stuff. And Griff told me, my whole that roast beef don't look good. That look very blue. I said that the color of it, Griff. Don't worry about this. 2 hours later, this thing always killed me, man. I never forget that.
Man, I feel for you, man. I feel for you.
I got a job with Laurie, and we had a great friendship until he died, and both here in Barbados and in Canada. And you know, he was like my father away from home. You know, he really is the guy that really taught me a lot. Laurie
really,
Silvera, man.
Yeah, he was a very good trainer.
Yeah.
He had lots that would win, and very well respected at Woodbine, as far as I know. So that I didn't even realize you were the assistant there. But you know that kind of helped as well. Right
Yeah,
now,
I was there for 3 seasons. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, myself.
One day I'll get to talk to Ricky as well. You know, one day, because he has some really good accomplishments himself too.
Of course, Griff had really done well with me. As I said, by the time he got to Canada, he was winning a lot of races at Woodbine already, you know, and himself. I don't know if do you know Anthony too, Turkey, Patrick's older brother.
I see them, know names, but I don't know that.
Yeah, the guys, man, did a lot. I mean, he had the foresight to see that he got to get his family to Canada, and he brought every one of them. Patrick, Simon, I know the sisters' sons are riding. You know what I mean? There's gonna be so much husbands riding at the Woodbine just now, man. It's gonna be shocking.
It's all husbands and no wives. I wonder what that's like. All these husbands running around.
But no, it just shows that even what Anthony did for his family was really great, man. I mean, because Patrick husbands came out of that, you know. I was talking to Patrick the other day about because what happened was, right, that in 1984-85, when I went back to Australia, Anthony and Ricky were supposed to come with me. They were supposed to ride because all of us were pretty close with Scobie Breesley, the great
that must
Australian.
be very crazy in Australia, because those Australians ride crazy.
Not really. You fit in. You just go over the floor. It can't be any crazier than Garrison.
That's true. That's very true, my brother.
Once you leave the Garrison, everything is pretty easy after that. You know what I mean? Because our track is tight, so you're bunched in, you're close, you know what I mean? These tracks are kind of wide open, and you know, the Australian jockeys are aggressive down the lane. You see them using a lot of stick and that kind of stuff. But we could do that too. And now I won a race there. I won a race in the Gold Coast in Brisbane. So, you know, it just proves that once given, the thing about it is something called opportunity. Okay?
That's right.
And once you're given an opportunity, we have proven by giving us opportunities, we have risen to the occasion, and we have done what I think we've punched above our weights. Some people would think, but I think it's more we're just as good as anybody else in the world.
And
Simple.
I'm really proud of all of you guys, man. And, you know, every time I see you guys writing, there's a lot of old men here too. A lot of old guys that when they go to the track and they see all you guys there, believe me, you guys may know, but if you're not there, they're just cheering for all the Bajan writers. They're all very happy. They have good things to say. You know, even if you come last or what, you know,
Um,
they're always supportive. It's a very good um, industry when it comes to watching
when
you guys. Those guys are very good, very
when
cool.
it was in Canada, we used to have the Bajan Day at Woodbine, and that day was that the crowd that used to be at the Barbados Day of Races was epic, man. It was so it just showed that we did something that you know what I mean because it brought out the people. Our people came out and you know so and I'm happy to see that you know the Barbadian people supporting those guys now because we have a few more Bajans riding at the track now, and I see Patrick seems to line with a lot of the older fellas right now because you know getting a little long with the tooth.
Patrick gonna get you for that, man. Patrick's still a young boy, man.
In his dreams, I'm still young in my dreams too.
So Sean, tell me about your writing now. I see that you doing is singing as well and writing.
I sing, I can't sing. I mean, I started writing songs and that kind of stuff when I got hurt in 2009, and it was something that stopped me from going crazy because you were losing everything around you and in pain and you know. So I started writing. I learned to write songs and that kind of stuff, and it's, you know I still do it. Well, I can't sing, so I had a guy called John Glock who sings my songs for me and that kind of stuff. But you know, it's difficult sometimes like when you can't sing. You know, if you're a singer and can write, it's so much better. So right now, I just write in quotes and little poetry, and just put them out there. That's the some people
So
like
there it
them and some
goes.
people don't like them. Yeah, wherever it goes, I don't.
Well, you know,
It,
if you got that skill, it's probably a good idea for you to start liming with a singer, because you know that's where it really the real magic happens. And get uh, get producers to give you a few tracks so you can put it
yeah,
together
but the young
and
people today, my taste is the same. So you know, I got to look for old boy like me who got the same taste.
Right, you may be surprised, man. They got some old souls out there
Yeah,
they just got them old souls out there, man.
I ain't come across any of them yet, but
That is true. That is true. So I guess what kind of genre of music you like? What kind of music you prefer?
I from the 70s and the 80s, boy. So those type of stuff, you know what I mean? The old stuff. I like guys like I like all old Barbadian music from the 70s and 80s and that kind of stuff.
And
Like Grosvenor and those type of guys, Independent Man. It's a lot of old sound of Wendy Allen and Karen Leacock and them kind of people. Cheryl Hackett, you know.
at least
That's
you're not
my
ashamed to say it, because they got
no
some guys when you start talking about these singers, they start holding on their head, and because the youngsters don't know who you're talking about. But I know who you're talking about. Wendy
application.
Allen, my mom used to play that all every
Right.
Saturday and Sunday. you know,
Richard Stokes and that sort of fella. So yeah, man.
yes,
No,
that's right. That's right.
I like that era of Barbados music, man. That is my favorite era of Barbados music. That I like those type of songs and songs from around that time. So most of the time, I guess I write for that type of stuff. You know, I don't write with the thing though. I mean, Bob Marley was a hero of mine too. So I love a lot of Bob Marley. And
I
but
was just about to ask you, who was your hero growing up? Like, who was your hero?
well, I mean, singing, you know, song wise, Bob Marley. But for myself, when as a youngster, I really like Ricky's dad, Godfrey Griffith. At the, that was one of the pump me up to write and that kind of stuff. And afterwards, of course, I had so much. I mean, Lord, these sort of people used to be in my father's circle.
Yes.
A lot of big name guys, you know what I mean? So it was like, and after when I traveled the West Indies team back in the 80s for those two years, it was like, you learn a lot from hanging with great people when you see their work ethic.
Do you feel? Do you have to hold back when you start talking about like when you travel with the West Indies team, when you like places you went? Do you find that it's easier for you to say it, or you sometimes need to shelter some of the things you would experience in those times?
I don't really talk much about it, so a lot of people don't really know. I mean, especially this when people see or hear it, be like, you went in India. I think I don't really talk much about it, but we doing a show, so because I talk, But the sort of experience, I had some great experience with the guys. Like, especially, I would say two experiences helped shape my ways of doing things. One was with the captain of the West Indies team, Sir Clive Lloyd. And that happened a day when I had an argument with my father. And I just got hurt in India. A horse fell on me 3 times in the gates. And I was supposed to ride in Australia as I got there in Brisbane. But my back was killing me, you know what I mean? So I told my father, I still hurting. I can't ride. And my father told me, stop being soft. So that, you can't tell me stop being soft, you know what I mean? So I was telling him, you know what I mean, where to, making my point that he obviously not saying, and he telling me that he bowled all day with his foot blister and all, so, he did all sorts of things. So. But Sir Clive saw.
That was the guys back in those days, man.
Yeah, but I'm telling him, 1,000 pounds just fell on me. I'm only 100, those days about 112 pounds. I said I was almost crushed like a pancake, But so Sir Clive saw the argument, and he came to me and he told me, Sean, can you come up to my room? I need to have a talk with you. And I kind of like, I mean, I know the captain and thing, but we weren't pals at that. I used to go to his room, so I thought, what do I do now? You know what I mean? So I went to his room.
Yes.
And Sir Clive told me, and I always remember it, especially throughout different parts of my life when different things happened and I started drifting away from Barbados. I always remember what he told me. He said, Sean, you're too young to see what your father's doing for you. But in a few years, Barbados is going to be too small for you. You're not going to be able to live in Barbados. It's going to be too small. He said this word, you're going to outgrow your country. And
that's right.
I was like, at the time, I was 17. So when he told me so, I was like, outgrow me, as he was speaking to me in my head thinking, what do you mean about outgrow my country? You know what I mean? So he told me, outgrow your country. He said, look, I started traveling just at how you very young, and I've outgrown my country. I can't see myself living in Guyana, but you're going to be the same thing very soon because you're saying too much. You're doing too much at this young age. And he was right. He was right. A few years, that was 83. By 1986, the cracks started to open for me wanting to get out of this country because I wasn't willing to take any foolishness anymore from people when I think you're doing me wrong, you know. And
That's right.
I think
That's right.
the first sign of that happened in 1986 when I was riding. I rode on Benton and I won with Benton, and it took me down
It was a very
after
famous
winning.
horse.
Yeah, you famous. I know how famous he was because the threats I was getting going down the gates right then. He had to be a real rock star because people people were willing to shoot me. That if you tell me,
I know.
Sean, if you lose, if you get, they say if I lose, they say if you get this horse beat today, get off at the 5 and head out of town. They saw threats I was getting that day. But even though he wasn't he won the race for me in record time, but he wasn't he obviously wasn't strong. He by that time he began to show cracks of soreness, and I don't know if they were trying to blame me for that, but they said I had to brutalize him to get him to win.
Most
That's why it
horses
was
do
told.
too, right?
Pardon me?
And most horses do the same thing. Most horses do the same thing, right? So, some people may not understand that.
No, but I think he won that day because he was a good horse. I think the difference, horses are just like good athletes. You see great
That's right.
athletes like Michael Jordan would play through any type of pain. You know what I mean? Those elite athletes who are really good. Pain don't really stop them. And I knew from the time the first half of the race, I thought that he didn't really want to run because he was throwing his head back at me and he wasn't striding out. So at that stage, I was a veteran rider, so I didn't panic. So I allowed him the first half of the race, but I said to myself, he can have the first half, but the second half will be mine. And I didn't brutalize him, but I was strong in those days. And when you get hit, you were well hit. And he ran well, you know what I mean? After I hit him 4 times in the race, but back in those days, the sticks were different than now. You know what I mean? They were big, heavy sticks. So, right. And he had a little wheel and thing, and some people were angry, and I heard that.
But you won the race.
I won the race, but one of the guys called me and tell me, you better come and defend yourself because you're going to ride this horse again. And he said, defend myself, and they know win a race. I said, I ain't coming to defend myself after winning a race, and I ain't defend myself, and that was it. But after that happened, though,
that was a great horse.
Yeah, he was great. He was a great horse. They just still talk about him a lot. You know, I mean, I could talk to it. I'm 100% on him. I never lost, so that's one thing.
That's right.
But
that's right.
After I lost that race,
you all props for that too.
Pardon? I didn't hear you.
No, I said give you all props for that too. I give you all props for that too. For being the.
Yeah, but the problem was after I lost the race, I started. I thought it was unfair what it did, and I stopped riding for a while. I stopped riding for a good few months. I only came back after a guy called Hayden Nichols. Hayden was begging me every day, come back. Cause he, I used to ride for him too, and he used to train horses for Embry Phillips at times. But no, he was Senator Embry Phillips. He was president of the Turk Club at one stage, and Hayden got me to come back, and I came back. I did well for Hayden and won a few races, and then that's when I really, 2 years later, I was heading to Canada because you just have enough of the foolishness you put it on here.
Well done. I mean, just a magnificent, I say mount to ride Ben Tom. You never lost on him?
I only rode him once. 100%. Next time, Neil Brewster rode him, and he won with him also. So me and Neil Brewster, we got 100% win on Benton. Both of us won on him. We both never rode him again.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Sean, when I spoke to you earlier when we messaged each other
Mhm.
earlier in the week, yesterday or something, and you told me about one of your friends, Michael Holden.
But
Tell
yes,
me a little bit about that friendship. Tell me a little bit about that because that's another great player, great man actually.
but Mikey's a horseman, man. Mikey love horses, you know. So when on tour, when he was in India and Australia, Mikey was always great support. You know what I mean? He always good advice because he's a fella that used to read the form and that kind of stuff, and he knew the horses inside out better than most trainers. And he used to own horses too in Jamaica, and he's still up to this day. Mikey has a house in Newmarket in England. He spent a lot of time around Sir Michael Stout, and we keep in contact up to this day. Up to this day, Michael Holden, great guy, great guy.
And he's doing well. He's doing well.
Yeah, man, Mikey's very well, very well. I mean, I hear him talking recently about
Good.
retiring, but I didn't think I don't know how serious that is. But he's very well, very well.
Now, before we come off, because we got a few. Well, I know the director in the background is probably going to be pressing me, but I want to talk to you a little bit more about what happened, some of the events that happened over last summer with the Black Lives Matter movement. Uh, I want to pick your brain a little bit to hear how you feel about the new reborn social justice movement. I want to also hear from you. Tell me what you think about, did the world literally had to stop for, for all people to really understand what is happening with the oppressed people? You know, like just I just want to pick your brain for a second.
That's very easy. I have a lot to say about that. You want me now? You want to talk about it now? I thought we were going to break. Sorry.
I want to hear from you.
No,
No, I want to
listen,
hear from you right now.
listen. I for someone like myself who I've seen racism from Australia. Don't talk about United States of America because I mean driving from Toronto to Florida every year it used to be very scary. By the time you cross by the time you cross the border, they make you feel that you've left safety. You know what I mean? And even in Canada, we had we had some share of that too. And don't get me wrong, I have many good friends in Canada, but they got a few bad apples. You know what I mean? I even trained for a guy. He told me, Sean, I'm the biggest bigot there is in Canada, and he felt very comfortable to tell me that. You know, I mean, and this is the older guy though. You know what I mean? This guy was like my grandfather's age because he fought in the same World War II war, and that was his excuse. He told me that when he fought in Africa, the people in Africa had no culture, you know, and so those sort of things are always on your mind that being wrong, you know. I guess I must admit it's a lot better. We talk about it and that kind of stuff, but you know, is a system that a brainwashing system that we have to keep. You know what? Even that's why Michael Holden is still one of my heroes because that speech he gave about the brainwashing of black people, and he was so right. You know what I mean? We are brainwashed, and when you're brainwashed for 400 years, you don't know what right from wrong. You know, and that's the problem with us in this society. Here in Barbados, I
Well,
find that we have a system in place that is just built on keeping people a certain way. And I can say that because I've seen poor black people go to Canada in 89, 90, you know, in those early years. And all those guys who went to Canada in those early years are living very comfortable in Canada now. Most of those guys are owners, trainers. Some of them moved on to administration jobs in the offices, and some of them working at the gates. Because these guys were given an opportunity and they've gone on and do well. The guys who have stayed are the same. They've gone no further. You know what I mean? They're being poured out for the cradle to the grave. And that's, you know, so my argument to the government is, if we are not allowed to make it in this business here in Barbados, help our people to get out. Because there are thousands of jobs. We've made a name for ourselves. We are a brand name. We cannot, when you become a brand name is only a good thing. There's nobody in the world could talk bad about Barbadian horsemen. Nowhere. And I really feel that as if Barbados young people can make it, show them the way how to get out, because the grass is greener on the other side. You know what I mean? And I could talk about the horse racing, I could talk about the horsing industry, because I've seen it for myself. Look, even me coming back to Barbados, if I wasn't such a strong person, I would have doubts in what's happening to me right now in this society. Because you just feel people looking, and sometimes it's your own people. That's the bad thing about it. It's such a system that when your people get in power or have money, they treat their own people just as the colonial masters have done. And it proves to you that it's just this system. Yeah, but it's just a system, right? It's just a system. I'm not saying it's no black and white thing.
Well, you know what, too? No, well, no, of course not. But you kind of learn from the oppressor. You kind of learn from the person who's in charge. And when you get in charge, you tend to do the same thing.
The same thing.
We got to be very careful not to do the same thing that we saw and was done to us.
That's right.
The one thing about us, especially us from the Caribbean, is that we only know as far back as slavery. We don't know beyond that in terms of where we actually from, where our family from. You know, that's all we know. You know, we can argue and talk about all kind of stuff, but I've got friends that I've met here living in Canada from Nigeria and from Ghana, and those guys can revisit their grandparents, their great grandparents, and they can go back and go back and go back.
Centuries,
but
generations.
For us, the Caribbean, we just stuck right at
slavery. I can tell you this here right now. I can tell you this right now from my father's side. My father said go back as far as St. Lucie. That's where when they come in on the boat, the first set was from they landed and worked in plantations in St. Lucie. And we ain't no further than that. You know what I mean? And this is Sir Wesley Hall you're talking about. You can't go no further than St. Lucie. So you got other people could go to the 16th, 17th century of their family, you know. Unfortunately, a lot of us in the islands don't have that same great feeling of looking back to see your family tree go back so far, you know.
I asked one of the guys the other day about this. I want to ask you the same thing. You know, Barbados is moving into a republic state very, and I'm just wondering, do you think that Barbados is completely ready for this move?
I don't know if it's completely ready for the move. I mean, I think it's for the people. The leaders have to decide that. The leaders have to decide that along with the people of Barbados, but have to decide that. I mean, I think it would be a good move, but who's Sean Hall to say that? you know, who
Here's the Wesley Hall son,
yes,
the
but
famous cricketer and politician.
I never did like politics, so I none of us like politics. My sister don't like it. I don't like it. But seriously, it's something that I think the government done the right thing. To the people of Barbados would have to help make that call for Barbados. Um, I think as an independent nation, you don't like to hear that you still have to look back to the Queen to do this and that kind of stuff. And you will hope that, to be really independent, you could do things on your own. And me personally, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I don't know if I'm in the majority or minority in saying that.
Yeah, well, me personally, I'm happy to see the move.
Mhm.
I'm just not sure if the people are completely ready and
Right.
are aware of the kind of work it takes really to now be try to be on our own
Mhm,
and
mhm,
break away from them
mhm.
bondages. But I'm very happy about moving. We got to grow. We got to move. Just be little housewives and house husbands for these
Mhm.
places, right? We gotta, we gotta do our thing,
But we are strong
So
people.
I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, but we are strong people. We are bright people. I think the lack of opportunity is more a problem than anything else. But when we are given that opportunity, and whatever it seems like, I mean, we go to the top of the world. I mean, look at somebody like Rihanna. I mean, I'm sure 20 years ago, you would never think that Rihanna would be, somebody like Rihanna who's on top of the world would ever be on top of the world. And
No, no,
it just shows you, I mean,
wonderful.
give us the opportunity, we move mountains. Simple as that.
Well, I think that I think that we as people have to kind of see ourselves in a different perspective. Also, I think that the way how we were trained,
Mhm.
especially from the British, we have to break away from that.
Why
And
don't you
because
why don't
I've
you use
watched
the
other
word
cultures,
why
I've
don't
watched
you
other
use
cultures.
brainwash instead of train? Brainwash, you don't think is a better word?
Yes, but I say train because I believe if someone else was brainwashing us, it would be the same. It's just a different training. So
I
you
think training.
train
All right.
brainwash. I use train. That's just me and my slick way of saying things, but it's the
I
same thing, you know.
I might be a little more direct then.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So um, I like your style, we got a few more minutes in the show. I know we booked you until 10 o'clock, and I'm gonna go a few more minutes to maybe 10:15. Then
Okay.
we'll jump off. We can do this again because this was really really awesome. I'm very happy that we actually got to meet. First time meeting you, but I'm
Yeah,
happy to meet
man.
you. Maybe you can say a few good words for some of the great people around you, and I get to meet them as well.
Of
You know.
course.
Yes, yes. So before we go, any last words? Anything you want to put up there in the atmosphere? Anything you want to put out there in the universe so that people can know? Any promotions you have,
Mhm.
anything of a significant importance that you want to make sure that people hear. Youngsters, anyone.
Well, I think the two things close to my heart right now is the documentary we're working on about Barbadian horsemen journey to Canada and United States. I think we got to start telling our stories about the good things we as a people have done. I am really excited about it. We have people showing interest, Um, and I'm hoping in the near future, whenever we speak again, I could tell you that somebody has jumped at the idea and gone running with it. So, but we have a few people who seem to like the idea, and time will tell. The other thing is the talks I had with government about our youth. I mean, I I I think the talks went well. I was on the battlefields in Canada for many years, so I know the types of things and what people are looking for and what they want. And all I did was, give my advice on what could be done to make things better for hopefully hundreds, thousands of Barbadians in the future. Because the talent is here, and we just need to give our young people the opportunity that a lot of us took, did, and we have many Barbadians that Rodney Barrow, Carlos Grant, and those guys who they met the Candace grooms, and those guys are looking after big stables. I mean, I must. I'm very happy for Rodney Barrow, because he was Laurie Severe's assistant when he died, and it just proved that from our time when we first went there in the late 80s, early 90s till now, Laurie Severe kept Barbadians close to heart. And when he died, a Barbadian took over his stable, and that's one of the proudest things I am happy to see, that what came out of that. You know what I mean? He worked with Laurie at the very end, and he took over, and not only took over, he took over with great success he's having right now with his first year training. He won a lot of races. So
I
those are the
want to say,
things.
Sean, that as you say that, I watched a few races last year, and I saw Rodney. I saw his name. Kept telling my best friend, this guy, he has a couple. I saw a couple good horses, and
Mhm.
his horses are doing really good. He's not pushing them too hard as it seems. They run into a few trouble with the riders as I watched, but I think he's doing it. I think he's the next one that can be on the radar coming along. I can
Yeah.
see. So awesome job,
You got,
awesome job.
but you got to understand, right? Guys like him have been around for a long
Um,
time, and they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? These guys, experienced guys, and given an opportunity, as I say, I like saying that word a lot. You notice that, eh? Given an opportunity, they just run with it and
yes,
did
yeah.
extremely well, man. So that's what it is, opportunity.
So
And
so again, I Sean, I want to say thank you, man. I really have to bounce off of this show right now, but I want to say to you, ever since I knew about Sean Hall, I thought you were awesome. As I said, I mean, I'm a few years younger than you, and I would go to Garrison, and I would just kind of like watch you and because your names were being mentioned all the time. One two, one two, one two at that time, and I want to say I didn't know your history when you first started writing here, but when I came to Canada, I started hearing more about you and hearing more about more of the guys. I want to
mhm,
say that your experience will take you through to the next level. You not
of
only
course it
become
would.
came from greatness, so not only coming from greatness, but you definitely heading for greatness yourself. I mean, you've gone from exercise rider to trainer, and now with the great program that you are starting, I'm pretty sure you're going to start turning heads and start making a even a bigger name in this industry. I want to say to you, man, awesome job. I want to say to you, keep the good work up, keep the good work up, and I want to say to you, I wish you nothing less than success with the new project, with the document, and also with your talks with the government of Barbados in promoting these guys and letting them understand the brand that Barbados is producing when it comes to horsemen and guys who really understand the horses and how the industry works. Because I can hear from guys surrounding the racetrack the ins and outs, and I can also see and listen when they talk about horses and talk about getting upset with jockeys and people for doing craziness to the horses as well. So I want to say you guys are doing a really good job, man, and I want to thank you again. And it's been I don't want to say thank you because I get to meet you. I never met your dad, but I met you, and that's good enough for me.
Our brother.
I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's doing well.
So it's been an awesome show. I hope that you stay connected with some of those great men around that were able to mentor you and shape you for you to become the person you are today. That you, even if you don't realize it, but with those great people around you, managed to form you in the way you are right now. So again, thank you again. Thank you again.
Thank you very much for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
And don't forget, put a good word in to Ricky for me as well. Uh, so that was the great Sean Hall, and again, um, it was a really awesome interview. And it was a pleasure of mine to talk with this bright budding star out of Barbados. Coming from greatness from his dad, so Wesley Hall. This man is not only have numerous records when it comes to cricket, um, well known around the world. Um, he has a statue of himself in Barbados. There's a statue of him in Barbados. This man was a politician, going from a cricketer. He went to the same school that I went to. Just coincidence. These things happen. Uh, uh, but it was a real pleasure to talk with Sean and for him to share some of those stories. I'm sure you guys were listening and enjoyed it as well. And until next week, we're gonna do this again. So next week we're gonna have another interesting guest, and I hope you guys can join us again. So until then, I just want to say peace, good luck. Whatever you do, do it safely. Wear a mask. Whatever you do, wear something that can protect you and protect your family. So good night and God bless you.